Hello and welcome to Macy Cooks. Today is a pretty awesome day because my sister Danielle and her husband Jacob are coming to visit. Now, when I have family come into town, I always like to make a big breakfast if I can. So I thought I might get started today. For whatever reason, saying that I have family coming into town and that I'm preparing for breakfast ahead of time makes me feel like I'm Ina. It makes me feel like I'd be like, Jeffrey has family coming into town, so I'm starting with this decadent strudel. However, it takes 18 hours, so I'm only going to start 2 weeks ahead of time. Unlike Ina, however, this is not going to take that long. It's super easy. We're making biscuits, y'all. As far as special ingredients goes, there's not many. If you have a rolling pin, grab it. If not, you can do it with your hands. I used to do it with my hands. To begin, grab your favorite biscuit bowl. This is my favorite biscuit bowl. In your favorite biscuit bowl, add 2 cups of all-purpose flour. To that, we are going to add 1 tablespoon of sugar, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 1 tablespoon of baking powder. Fun story, I was out of baking powder and I had to make that. So I'm thinking next week I'm gonna make another oh no I'm out, and it'll teach you how to make baking powder. But for now, let's get back to baking. Once you have those dry ingredients incorporated, give it a good old whisk and then prepare for the most important step. For this recipe, you will need a 1/2 cup or 1 stick of butter cubed up into small pieces. Now, the most important thing to note is that this butter needs to stay as cold as possible. The reason being is once you put the biscuits into the oven, if that butter's not cold, then they're not going to be extra flaky. For the record, there are different types of biscuits. There are drop biscuits, which are not flaky. They're more tender and pull apart, kind of like the Cheddar Bay biscuits at Red Lobster. However, these are not drop biscuits. These are a flaky biscuit. P.S. Neither of my kids have napped all day in there. They're in the next room, so just prepare for anything. Given that there's no telling what could possibly go to, we should really just get baking. Go ahead and add that 1/2 cup of butter to your dry, keeping in mind that there is a whole school of thought behind biscuits and how to integrate that cold butter. There are tons of people who think that you should not use your hands at all because you want to keep that butter as cold as possible. And I agree with you that in theory that works. And there's tools for that. There's like this little thing that mashes, kind of like a potato masher. Also, older Southern women like to use knives and cut it in. However, to be honest with you, the thing I have found is just work extremely quickly. Quickly as possible, I'm taking these butter cubes and actually mashing them between my fingers and pressing them into the flour. Basically trying to pinch it into tiny little layers. Once I have the majority of the pieces pinched, just for good measure, I take my fists and actually press down onto the flour and the butter, just making sure that I'm getting it as thin as possible. What's going on in there? Why's your sister crying? Well, she doesn't want to wear the hat. Don't make her wear it. The hardest part about doing these videos is trying to keep the chaos down. So I apologize that sometimes there's background noise, but you know, that just comes with the territory. To this, we are going to add 3/4 cups of very cold milk. For the record, no, I have no idea how 2% would work here, or God forbid 1%. I use whole milk in mine. I mean, it is a biscuit. Get your rubber spatula and mix that all up. The majority of the dough has come into a ball, and as you'll see, I poured some of that flour and a little bit of the butter that was left over in the bowl onto the counter. And what you're gonna do is take that and place it right on top. Before you bring out the rolling pin, what you do is gather up one side and fold it over like a book, and then press down. Rotate it, fold the other side over like a book, and press down. Once again, for the 3rd time, grab on the side facing away from you, pull it towards you, and press down. What you're doing is you're creating layers in that flour and the butter that when the biscuit starts to bake, it will rise up and get thick and fluffy. For the 4th and last fold, I like to roll it out a little bit thinner. And then, like folding an envelope, take the side facing away from you, fold it halfway, and then the side closest to you, halfway. Flip it over, and then roll it out. Now again, you know, this is a very particular type of biscuit. I think that there is a time and a place for every biscuit. This biscuit for example, I think is my favorite breakfast biscuit, but it's probably not the one I would make if I were serving it with chicken noodle soup. Once you have the dough approximately 1/4 of an inch thick, I take all those little tiny remnants and I just press them down onto the top. If you are classier than me, then you might own a biscuit cutter. However, I do not. I use a mason jar, which, let's face it, somehow seems appropriate. Using your biscuit cutter or your mason jar, you are going to place it down on top of the dough, and I've noticed that it helps if you kind of press it down at an angle. If you take it and just press it down, little air pockets are going to build up and it actually makes a smaller circle. So you get more biscuits if you turn it to an angle. I always end up with 5 biscuits before I get this garbage. And then very technically and in a very proficient manner, I take them and I just kind of pinch them all together. And then I fold it over again, flip it over, and roll it out. Really professional video. But, I mean, you know what? It doesn't matter, okay? Because these biscuits are delicious. Once you have your little remnants rolled out, take your mason jar and cut one right out of the center. Now, let me just tell you, it may not bake up the same. In fact, this is the one that I always call the lumplin. And hey, today's a lucky day because we actually ended up with enough extra dough for 2 lumplins. Now, at this stage, you could put them in a 450-degree oven and bake them for approximately 12 minutes. However, because my family is coming into town, I'm going to put these in the fridge and let them sit overnight. And then in the morning, I'm going to pull them out, stick them in the oven, and it's going to fill the whole house with the aroma of fresh butter and bread. Isn't that just divine? Look, I'm not making fun of Ina, okay? Truth be told, The Barefoot Contessa is pretty much my favorite show on the planet, and I love her. So, see you in the morning.
Good morning. Everyone's still asleep, but I'm gonna go ahead and put the biscuits in the oven. Quick thing to note before you do though, is that you can put them in plain, just by themselves, just like this. But you can also top them in a little bit of melted butter, or if you're like me and, you know, an old Southern woman at heart, I'm gonna put bacon grease on mine. However, whatever you decide to glaze them in will be perfect. Just put them in a 450-degree oven for about 12 minutes. You know, I think the best part of waking up early before everybody and putting biscuits in the oven is that you also get to be the first person to the coffee pot. Yes, I have a caffeine problem, but I mean, I'm a mother of 2, so forgive me. My friend Ashton gave me this mug. I think it suits me perfectly. I mean, just think about the lipstick on my teeth for the first 3/4 of this video. I started editing it last night and I was like, well, guess there's just gonna be lipstick on my teeth for the rest of the video. I mean, I'm not reshooting all that. I mean, it's not that I don't want the video to look as perfect as possible, but like, it's hard enough meeting weekly goals when you have 2 kids, you know? So, alas, awkward and lipstick-toothed it shall be. Watch out, Pillsbury Doughboy. Macy's coming for you. Yeah. Check it out, guys. Do you see all the flakes? That's because we layered that cold butter and flour. There's just nothing better than baking, is there? I don't know about y'all, but I think the best thing about a biscuit is the fact that you can go sweet or savory. Now, granted, I put bacon fat on these, so I was kind of aiming for savory. However, it'd be very good with a jelly as well. Look at this biscuit bottom. You would have never known that this was one of the lumplins. Do you think you're getting one of these? This? Are you joking? Just at least try to pretend you're gonna eat it slow and savor it, okay? The guests have thoroughly enjoyed their biscuits. All they could say was, Ina, did you really make these? Yes. Whether you want to eat them with jelly or honey butter or by themselves, get baking, y'all.